welcome. Good evening. It's the Acadia After Dark podcast. Happy to be back with you again this week. I'm the Reverend Redbeard, and hopefully y'all have been having a good day. I know that, hold on. There we go. Okay. Fixing the OBS view. Anyways. I hope everybody has been having a good week, good day, wherever you are. Got a lot on the agenda for the week, but busy, but a good busy. I had some milestones this week from work that I wanted to get done, and was able to make something happen that I wasn't sure was going to work out, and I'm happy that it did. So keep that rolling. Anyways, as I said, welcome to the Acadia After Dark podcast. We're gonna have a pretty good show this week. We've got a couple of things in the news, interesting stuff that was happening this week. There was a supposed UFO invasion earlier on the 3rd that came and went, and we'll see if there were any results of that. I don't know how y'all fared in other parts of the world. Up here, we were fine. Anyways, we're gonna also talk about the most recent episode where I got into the UFO phenomena in Maine, the Allagash abduction more specifically. We did touch on a couple other cases, but that one was the focus of that episode because that was one of the first cases that got me into UFO research. So definitely high on my list. Yeah, so anyways, jumping right in, we're gonna have Krampus tonight, so hopefully y'all have not been bad this year. He'll show up, beat you with a stick, throw you in a sack like this little chubby cheeked child. And I had some unfortunate news earlier this week for my local area up here in Maine. More specifically, the one that affects me in this news story, Stephen King's radio stations are to sign off for good at the end of the month. Now, Stephen King, the prolific horror writer, happens to be from Maine, and he is a big fan of public radio. And he himself has bought 3 radio stations that are owned and operated out of the state of Maine. One of them I grew up with, was WKIT, and to hear that he is now going to be shuttering the doors, he's been posting on threads pretty recently about it, and it's definitely he said that it was due to the combination of financial strain, and he is 77 years old, I believe. So he said that he's feeling the pressure now to start winding things down and closing up some of his projects. But yeah, Stephen King's rock station on the sign here, WKIT, one of the few locally owned and operated radio stations still going in Maine. This is of special significance to me, not only because I grew up with the radio station, and Stephen King's works are obviously a big thing for us in Maine, and he's touched a lot of lives through those things, but also radio is a very important part of my life. I'm a volunteer DJ, and I do broadcasting work, and I honestly, the amount of radio stations today that are still operating that are not syndicated are fewer and fewer by the year, and to have somebody that was keeping it going by his own, out of his own pocket, I'm sure this was not something that was profitable to him, but he kept it going for all these years, and to him, salute, kudos to you, sir, because he definitely has kept radio alive. It's So they're going to play out the end of the year. I believe their last broadcast is going to be New Year's Eve. So if if we get a chance, I'll be definitely tuning in that night. And yeah, it's one of those things. I see articles about it, and I hear other people talking about it, and there's of course a certain crowd that's like, oh yeah, well that's what you get. For whatever reason, they may think that that's deserved. But then there's another significant group that recognizes how much she's impacted people's lives here in Maine, and how like the people that work at these radio stations are a part of our community, which is something you lose when it becomes, now it's a nationally syndicated Blueberry broadcasting production, or wherever it happens to be coming out of. I know one of the things that's happened in recent years is like community radio and internet radio are kind of the only two places that are independent still. Internet radio is more and more becoming syndicated because they realize there's a huge profit there. And then, like the radio station that I work at, they're completely a community-based radio station, so they operate as a nonprofit. Now, there's definitely radio stations still going in other places, and I hope that they are able to find some way to keep their heads above water. And if you ever get a chance to, just pick up a radio and listen to them once in a while. If you don't, you should. There's something different about that compared to a curated playlist by some AI, or even something that somebody else put together on the internet. And if you grew up on radio, I'm sure you know what I mean. And I mean real radio, not the syndicated stuff where they're playing the same 17 songs an hour or a day, and you hear the same things day in, day out. I'm talking about real radio where it's real people, real broadcasting. But anyways, sad to see it go. We'll definitely be coming back to this before the end of the year, because like I said, they will be broadcasting through until New Year's Eve as far as I've understood. Anyways, moving on. I was told there'd be an alien invasion today. Yeah, we apparently dodged a big bullet on that one. Now, some people may understand that I'm a big UFO guy. I love them. I love studying the phenomena. I've recently, been picking up more and more on that. That was my episode this week, so I thought it was a good follow-up to the UAP hearings that we discussed a couple weeks ago. I've also been doing some recent reading and stuff like that to kind of familiarize myself with some of the more recent phenomena in Maine that I wasn't up to speed on. And there's a lot of it, I'll be honest. But the big talk on the internets the other day, the interwebs, as I've been told, was that there was supposed to be an alien invasion on December 3rd. There was supposed to be a big intergalactic sky battle where the militaries, everybody talked about it as if it's just going to be the U.S. military. I'm assuming it'd be the world military, though, wouldn't it? Because it's kind of a big deal for everybody. If it's going to be Independence Day, I think everybody should be involved here. Nonetheless, there was all this hubbub and talk. Now, this whole thing came from a discussion in TikTok of some man named Cliff High, and this Reddit post does a pretty good job of summarizing it. So let me read this. It says, man who made the AI that predicted the 2004 tsunami in Indonesia says there will be an alien invasion on December 3rd of 2024. Okay? Now, Cliff High is a computer scientist known for creating a predictive system called predictive linguistics. Using a software tool called WebBots, High analyzes vast amount of internet data, particularly focusing on the emotional content of words, to forecast potential future events. His method, which he started developing in the late 1990s, has been credited with predicting significant events, including the 2004 tsunami in Indonesia. Okay, that's a pretty big deal. The guy predicted a tsunami. That's pretty good off of just an algorithm. It basically just tells us based off of how much you care about something what's going to happen. My understanding. Anyways, read more. High system works by detecting language patterns that seem to foreshadow significant global shifts, such as political events, natural disasters, or societal changes. Although not all his predictions have come true, his method has garnered attention for its statistical success, particularly in predicting major incidents like the 9/11 attacks. Cliff High returns to discuss his latest data. Humanity wins, dark times, history revealed. Quotations. Okay. One of his more recent controversial predictions involves an alien invasion. Cliff High forecasted that following an appearance by Donald Trump on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, which, yeah, if he predicted that, that was not on my 2024 bingo card. Humanity would experience a major extraterrestrial event, with the invasion expected to occur precisely 39 days after the podcast episode. This prediction adds to High's reputation for combining unusual linguistic patterns with futuristic events. I'm sorry, I couldn't. It's so funny. Yeah, so that's a pretty wild prediction, right? And this is, again, the Reddit post from Pickup the Vibes, user on Reddit and conspiracy Reddit. So I found this really interesting that people saw this and they took a lot from it. Now, say what you will about whether you think there would be an alien invasion. The way that people took it was memeing on it all day. So if we had been attacked by aliens, that's what they would have been welcomed with, was us sitting here and being like, ha ha ha, I hope the aliens invade. But the other thing that I found hilarious about it is that literally nobody that I heard talking about it online knew where this originated. They were just picking it up off of the last person that memed on the entire thing. Nobody that I talked to online knew about the whole Donald Trump Joe Rogan Experience side of this thing, which to me, arguably, is the most interesting part of this whole thing. But let's be real. If there had been an alien invasion, if it's a real invasion, like they're trying to take us over or wipe us out, there's not going to be much of a fight. That's just 100% true. You can ask anybody that can conceive of that type of science that they would need to be able to get to us when we can't get to them. They're going to wipe us out. The other part of it is even if it wasn't and they're just coming here for the sake of coming here, from everything that most people look at and see, there's no reason to think that they would just be coming here to just mess with us. There was a lot of people that were talking about, well, they're already here. Well, that's a good possibility. Who knows? There's people that believe that they're us from the future. There are people that believe that they're already talking to them. I don't fall into either of those categories myself, but I respect those that do, because they have some proof that to them validates that. I am not going to argue with them about that because that's not my position. What I am going to say is that if we ever do have an actual alien invasion, I'm 100% on the side of the aliens. There's no doubt in that in my mind. I'm going to absolutely turn over all of our leaders the first chance that I get. No doubt. Anyways, moving on. What was next on the list tonight? Because we got some fun times ahead. Oh yeah. So fun times. Some weird stuff going on Blue Sky Official. So I just started getting on Blue Sky like this week and starting to try and tap into the high strangeness, UFO, UAP side of things, as well as a little bit dabbling into the cryptid community now. So here's an interesting thing. Blue Sky is like a really weird mixture of like different sites. And none of them are particularly like stuck with for a long time back in the day when they were very popular. But you also get several different types of crowds. And I found that the UFO community on there is like very, very active, and that's super cool. What I also did find at the same time is that they're very quick to post a ton of stuff. Like there's so much stuff right now because there's been such an active like field for the last few years that now that that site's really popping off, if you follow the UAP UFO feed, your feed is blowing up all the time, which is great. Don't get me wrong. It's so much to keep up with. It's a bit overwhelming. So I do hope we can figure out some filters or something there. And we're starting to see some. There's a little bit of back and forth. You know, I see people from a lot of different demographics, which is cool because that's what the internet's supposed to be. You know, it's the town square. Most of the people seem to be operating in good faith. That's super cool. Very happy about that. On the cryptid side of things, I was very like happy to find some people that I really respect. In fact, I had Lauren Coleman the other day follow me on there, which was super cool. Made my whole week. But there was one guy on there because I really enjoy the documentaries by Small Town Monsters. Seth Breedlove does great work as far as I'm concerned over there. There's a lot of the guys that I respect on that team that do fantastic work, and their documentaries are a work of art as far as I'm concerned, anyways. Now, you know, never gonna yuck somebody else's yum. You all enjoy your own things. That's fine. But when I was talking to somebody about it, there was this other gentleman that jumped into the conversation and immediately starts spouting off about how, oh, they're the worst documentary makers that I've ever seen and that their stuff is garbage. Now, I don't know what this man's background was, but I did not see any content he was producing. What I have seen is when I see the documentaries that they put together, they are fantastically done. The it's that obviously a passion project for them, right? So I don't see any reason for anybody in these communities to be bashing each other if they like their method of putting themselves out there, or the way they do research, or the way they present themselves isn't your thing. It's very easy to tune it out. And that's the same for my content. If it's something that you don't like, that's fine. Shut it off. You don't have to listen. Except you do have to listen to the rest of this. But nonetheless, my point stands that like there's a lot of good to be had from social media. There's a lot of negativity in certain places if you look for it. I've been finding more positivity than negativity in my experiences recently, especially when starting this podcast. It's been overwhelmingly supportive, and I hope it keeps that way. I know it won't always be, but that's fine. And hey, as a matter of fact, if it ever helps you and you're starting to feel down on it, just reach out to somebody else that's doing that and tell them they're doing a good job. Sometimes that can mean the world. You never know. Maybe it ain't shit. I don't know. To me, it feels good. If it helps me, I hope it helps you. So, next thing, because we didn't get to it yet, is the new episode. Episode 5, talking about the most famous UFO encounter or alien abduction in man's history, as far as I am concerned. There may have been others that other people arguably think are bigger. The Loring case is a big deal as well, but that felt like a lot more involved, and I couldn't cover it to the degree or detail that others have. Specifically, like talking on that one, Nomar Slevik, I've been reading his book, and he's an absolute. He's the guy when it comes to alien and UFO phenomena in Maine. I would definitely say he's the shaman of it all up here. But as far as the Entergash encounter, again, that was one of the first ones I heard of as a kid. And I remember going to my library when I was a child, and they had, I was probably in the second grade or so, and they had a handful of books in there, and I was always into aliens and UFOs and ghosts and things like that. So, probably the first time that I ever saw a book in that library that mentioned aliens or UFOs, it happened to be I don't remember the name of it now, but it happened to be a small book that included just UFO stories from all over the U.S. It talked about the one of the first encounters that they had with like an airplane encountering one and things like that was a big. It's a core memory of mine. It was this chapter being about the Allagash abduction because that was a big part of why I got into UFOs as a child, and now being older and seeing so much more information out there about it compared to when I was, a young kid, and then even as a teenager into my, late teens, early 20s. There's still been more developing information, specifically the fact that Charles Rack came out and said that in 2016 he said that it was all a hoax as far as the abduction portion of it. Now he still stresses that they saw the light. He does say that that was 100% true, but he does not remember the abduction. He does not remember the missing time. Not that he doesn't remember. He says it straight up just didn't happen that way. He says that it was basically they did it for the attention and the fame that would come with it. I don't know how much fame you're really getting from doing the UFO circuit and like conventions and stuff and like a handful of interviews that they did over the years. I don't know if that's really like the springboard to a career that some would make it out to be. So I don't know what the logic to that is myself. I mean, maybe those guys have raked in money over the years and I'm just not seeing it, but it doesn't strike me as that would be the most lucrative decision that someone could make, especially when you at that time in particular, you're really debasing yourself and you're going to end up being more ostracized than anything. In fact, that's what happened to several of the guys, that they were basically like treated, you know, like a stranger by their friends and colleagues and things like that. Their jobs were, pushing them out. And several of the guys said that they had nightmares and all kinds of other things that were happening to them for years. So I don't know what the benefit to that would have been to have went 30 some odd years after the fact, still going with that story. However, that's not to say it couldn't have happened that way, because let's be real, people have lied about foolish things for a long time for little or no reason. So there could have been a, a fragment of truth to it and it got exaggerated. Or maybe for whatever reason, he's decided he just doesn't want to live his life with that. And so he himself is now, denying it. Who's to say, honestly? The other guys do maintain that they had that experience. There's not really anybody that's going to be able to disprove that until we have some sort of definitive proof that there are or are not extraterrestrials abducting people. I guess that's the only way we'd ever really know. But in this day and age, um, even though we're coming seemingly closer and closer to full disclosure as far as the government and things like that, I don't think we're really any closer to understanding what's going on. So it could be a while. Hopefully, the guys, wherever they are, whatever they're doing now, have some sort of peace with it. Because having night terrors for years on end of being abducted would probably not be very good for one's mental health, I would imagine. After a while, that's gonna be it's gonna be a little rough on the psyche. I wouldn't last very long that way, I'll be honest. I will be honest. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for this week. We're gonna have a kind of a shorter episode this coming Monday. I'm gonna have new content on the way for probably the socials. I think we're going to start doing some new stuff with either short form content, I guess is what you would call it, but basically just doing like 3 to 4 5-minute videos as opposed to the 20-minute YouTube length videos that we've been doing. And then I'm hoping to try and get some people on the podcast eventually in the next month or two. I've been kind of reaching my feelers out to a few people here or there, see if anybody will be joining us to discuss various topics and whatnot. I've been working on reading through a piece that I want to do a longer piece on, and when I get there, I will give you a little more details on it. I don't want to spill the beans on that yet, because it's kind of it's an out there idea, but if it works, it'll be really cool. Yeah, so currently we've got probably about 2 more episodes before the end of the year, and then we'll have a short break at the beginning of the year while I'm wrapping up some stuff and getting some new things lined up. But I do hope that everybody has had a great week and a good night here. Before we go, I wanted to talk a little bit about one of the next episodes that's coming up and something interesting that's come up with it. Because while I was doing research for an upcoming episode on something that I was already pretty excited about, I ended up finding like a lot more details on another kind of side tangent. So what I want to know, to anybody that does listen to this podcast, reach out to me on socials if you do listen this far. What would you want to hear in future videos? Would you be interested in a true crime aspect to things? Or should we keep it fun, spooky, and supernatural? Let me know what you think. Anyways, it's been a great week. Been a good evening talking to y'all. We'll be back next week, Thursday at 7:30. I hope everybody has a fun weekend. The new YouTube video will be up on Monday. And if you are not already, make sure you follow us on our Threads, Instagram. YouTube's definitely the place for most of the videos anyways, if you want to check into those. Oh, and I do know that for the audio listeners that are checking out on Spotify, the most recent playlist there of the first 5 episodes, if you haven't already, go check that out. And while you're there, rate the show and give us a 5 stars. We'd really appreciate it. It would help us out. Anyways, everybody have a great week. I'll talk to you soon. This is Reverend Redbeard, Acadia After Dark, signing off. Stay spooky. Talk to you soon.